First of all, thanks to all of you for being here today. We're so grateful for everyone's support, and a big thank you to the amazing team at Success Academy, whose hard work pulled all this entire event together. So thank you. I'm so honored that Eva Moskowitz is here tonight to share her thoughts on education and what's made the Success Academy so incredibly effective. So I think it'll be a great discussion. To set the stage a bit, I wanted to talk about the state of play of New York City public schools to set some context for the results that Success Academy has had, and discuss why school choice is so important. I think it's only appropriate that we're holding this event at the Penn Club because it's a convenient reminder that we have the best college system anywhere in the world, but we've got a K-12 public education system that does not often fulfill its obligations to students and to families. There are many good public schools in this country, but the underperforming public schools reside disproportionately in low-income neighborhoods. So the biggest problems with K-12 fall on the backs of the poor and the disadvantaged. The big difference between colleges and K-12 schools is the degree of competition that they face. In almost all cases, colleges must compete for their students. So colleges that underperform are motivated to improve so they can attract applicants. But when underperforming K-12 schools operate in areas with limited school choice, they effectively become local monopolies and therefore have few incentives to improve. And this remains among the central issues impacting education in New York. And it's occurred despite the fact that education spending in New York remains higher than anywhere else in the nation. In 2020, New York State spent over $25,000 per student, which is about 20% more than any other state and nearly 2 times the national average. And the same is true for New York City, which remains the most expensive public education system in the country, spending nearly 2 times what Los Angeles and Chicago spend, 3 times that of Miami and Dallas. And I think it's fair to ask whether we're getting a good return on our investment. Recently, New York City published the results of their annual proficiency exam for K-12 public school students. The results are astonishing. On the left side, you can see that only 38% of students are proficient in math. And as you move to the right, you'll notice that the results for economically disadvantaged children and minorities are even worse. So the parent of a Black or Hispanic family has a 1 in 5 chance of their child learning basic math skills. This is a disgrace, and it puts parents and their children in a terrible position. Now, it's worth comparing these results to those achieved by Success Academy. But before we get to the data, it's important to note a couple of things. First, Success Academy is publicly funded, often to a slightly lesser extent than traditional public schools. But just as important, the students at Success Academy are not hand-selected. They are chosen at random via lottery from the same neighborhoods that populate the public schools. So the differences you're about to see are driven almost entirely by quality of schooling. 83% of Success Academy students pass their proficiency exams. And the differential widens relative to New York public schools as you move to the right and consider the demographics of Success Academy, the vast majority of whom are Black or Hispanic and come from economically disadvantaged households. You can see on the right that roughly 80% of Success Academy students pass their tests, almost 4 times more than the same students in New York public schools. The results are nothing short of extraordinary, and they show up not only in test scores, but also in college acceptance. Success Academies existed for 16 years. years. We just had our 4th high school graduating class. 100% of Success Academy high school students across 4 graduating classes have been accepted to college, including many of the top universities in the country. But today, if you are an inner city parent, you cannot be assured of a slot for your child at Success Academy or any charter school for that matter, because the number of spots is limited and is insufficient to meet parental demand. Right now, over 50,000 parents are on the waiting list in New York City for charter schools, including over 14,000 for Success Academy alone. To put that 14,000 figure in perspective, there are 20,000 students in all of Success Academy, so the wait list is enormous. And for those families on the waiting list, literally the quality of their child's education will be determined by a random lottery which determines whether they get in or not. So a child's future is basically determined by a coin flip. How could anyone justify treating families this way? So we spend massive amounts of money in New York City on public schools, get unacceptable results, and deny far too many parents the right to choose a better option for their children. The result in many cases is the continuation of poverty, as over and over again, people are denied the ability to improve their lives because they don't have an adequate education. And yet much of the debate around poverty today relates purely to income disparities between the rich and the poor. But the data is unmistakable. We do not have poverty in America because we have too many successful Americans. It's no surprise that a major contributor to poverty is the fact that many of our schools are failing to teach our children effectively. This breakdown is the direct result of a school system that too often preserves educational monopolies in many districts, regardless of what parents may want for their kids. The schools are supposed to exist to serve their students, not the other way around. We know how monopolies treat their customers, which is why the central issue holding back our K-12 schools is a lack of competition and parental choice. But not all parents face the same limitations. Upper income parents have the ability to have school choice because they can move to neighborhoods with high quality public schools, and they can afford private schools. It's lower and middle income parents who don't have these options. And it's precisely those parents who need choice the most, because those are the public schools that tend to be the least desirable. And this is why the system is so unfair. The issue is not the superiority of one type of school over another. There are good public schools, bad public schools, good and bad charter schools, etc. The issue is who gets to decide. But even if we get to the place that all parents, regardless of income level, have the right to determine where their children go to school, there's another challenge, which is that real choice requires high quality options. Choice without quality isn't much of a choice at all. Expanding charter schools not only provides parents with a viable alternative, but the mere presence of charter schools actually improves traditional public schools, because all schools have to compete for their students. So everyone's better off as the quality of options improves. This shouldn't be a controversial issue. And this is why a lot of people talk about school choice as a matter of civil rights. The entire civil rights movement was about the equal application of the law, without discrimination and without paying attention to race or income. And what's more discriminatory than denying a parent the right to pursue a bright future for their child simply because the parent has the wrong address and doesn't have the financial resources to move to a better neighborhood or go to a private school. And this is why the achievements of Eva Moskowitz and the team at Success Academy are so important. Eva and the organization that she built transformed the lives of thousands of families and has helped level the playing field somewhat for thousands of kids. Eva is a true national hero for what she's accomplished, and I'm incredibly honored that she's here to share her views with our discussion tonight on redefining what's possible in education. I can't think of a better person to do that. It's my great pleasure to introduce Eva Moskowitz, the CEO and founder of Success Academy.